The NBA we know today, with its three-point shooters, defensive rules, and fast-paced style, didn't always exist. In fact, the game has been reshaped over time because of a handful of players who were either too dominant, too innovative, or too controversial for the league to handle. These weren't just great athletes. They forced the NBA to rewrite its rulebook. Imagine a player so unstoppable that the league had to widen the paint just to slow him down. Or another who dunked free throws, causing the NBA to ban the move entirely. From banned slam dunks and illegal crossovers to limits on how long you can back down a defender, some of the most iconic players in history didn't just change the game with their skills, they changed it with the rules that came after. Today we're looking at the NBA stars who forced the league to adapt, evolve, and transform forever. Wilt Chamberlain, too dominant for the NBA. Wilt Chamberlain wasn't just great, he was so dominant that the NBA had to change its rules just to make the game fair again. Standing 7 feet 1 inch with incredible speed and strength, Wilt once scored 100 points in a single game and averaged 50 points and 25 rebounds per game in the 1961-62 season, numbers that sound almost unreal today. Defenders simply couldn't stop him near the basket, so the NBA took dramatic action. One of the first major changes was widening the paint from 12 feet to 16 feet, a rule made specifically to push Wilt farther from the rim and make scoring harder. Before the rule, he could just stand near the basket and dominate every possession, but it didn't stop there. Wilt was also known for his creative free throw technique. Since he struggled with free throws, he found a loophole. He would take off from behind the free throw line, leap forward, and dunk the ball. The NBA quickly shut that down by creating a rule that players cannot cross the free throw line until the ball touches the rim. Even goaltending rules, preventing players from swatting the ball after it starts descending toward the basket, were influenced by Wilt's ability to jump higher than anyone and grab shots right out of the air. Simply put, Wilt Chamberlain didn't just play the game, he forced the NBA to reinvent it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the skyhook and the dunk ban. Before he became the NBA's all-time leading scorer, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, then known as Lou Alcindor, was already rewriting the rules of basketball in college. At UCLA, he was so dominant around the rim that the NCAA decided to ban dunking entirely from 1967 to 1976. Yes, dunking was actually illegal in college basketball for nearly a decade, and many believe this rule was created because no one could stop Kareem from scoring. Instead of complaining, Kareem responded by developing one of the most iconic and unstoppable shots in basketball history, the skyhook. A single-handed sweeping motion that was almost impossible to block. It allowed him to score from anywhere near the basket without ever needing to dunk. While the dunk ban was at the college level, its influence was felt across basketball, including the NBA. It changed how players approached scoring and inspired a new era of skill and finesse over pure athleticism. Kareem carried the skyhook into the NBA, where it helped him score 38,387 career points, a record that stood for nearly 40 years until broken by LeBron James in 2023. His success showed the basketball world that when rules try to stop greatness, true legends find a new way to win. Kareem didn't just adapt to the rule change, he mastered it, and in the process, changed the game forever. Michael Jordan, the back-to-the-basket rule. Michael Jordan wasn't just an elite scorer. He was so good at isolating defenders that the NBA had to create a new rule because of him. In the 1990s, Jordan mastered a move where he would receive the ball in the post, turn his back to the defender, and slowly back them down toward the basket. He was strong, patient, and almost impossible to stop in these one-on-one situations. The problem? It slowed the game down and gave offensive players too much control over the defender. So in 1999, the NBA introduced the 5-second back-to-the-basket rule. This rule states that an offensive player can't dribble with his back to the basket inside the post area for more than 5 seconds. If they do, it's a turnover. This rule wasn't just about speed, it was about balance. Jordan made the post-up game so efficient, especially in clutch moments, that defenses had no real answer. The NBA wanted more ball movement, less isolation, and a faster, more entertaining game. While this rule didn't stop Jordan from dominating, it did change how future stars like Kobe Bryant and LeBron James approached scoring in the post. Jordan's impact was so big that the league didn't just try to stop him, they rewrote part of the rulebook because of him. Shaquille O'Neal, the birth of Hack-a-Shaq and rule changes. Shaquille O'Neal was a force of nature, 7 feet 1 inch, 325 pounds, and nearly unstoppable near the rim. But he had one major weakness: free throws. Opposing teams developed a strategy called Hack-a-Shaq, where they would intentionally foul him over and over again to force him to shoot free throws instead of allowing easy dunks. It slowed down games, made them less entertaining, and sometimes turned the final minutes into free throw shooting contests. In response, the NBA created and later adjusted rules to limit intentional off-the-ball fouls, especially in the final 2 minutes of games. If a player is fouled intentionally without the ball during that time, the offensive team gets a free throw and keeps possession. This rule was heavily influenced by the way teams abused Hack-a-Shaq. Shaq also affected defensive rules. Because of his size, defenders would sometimes camp in the paint to stop him. The NBA responded by enforcing the defensive 3-second violation, which prevents defenders from standing inside the paint for more than 3 seconds without guarding someone. This rule helped open up offensive space and make the game more dynamic. Shaq's dominance didn't just earn him championships, it forced the NBA to rethink how defense, fouling, and interior play should work. Allen Iverson, the crossover that changed the rulebook. Allen Iverson didn't just bring swagger and attitude to the NBA, he brought a move so deceptive it practically broke defenders' ankles and the rulebook. His signature move, the killer crossover, was so quick and smooth that officials initially thought it was illegal. Many believed Iverson was palming or carrying the basketball, which violates dribbling rules. But the reality was simple. Iverson was just faster and more creative than what the NBA had seen before. As defenders and coaches complained, the NBA had to clarify what was and was not a legal dribble. Instead of banning Iverson's move, the league updated and clarified the rules around palming and carrying, ultimately allowing more freedom in ball handling. This rule adjustment helped shape the modern game, where players like Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, and Jamal Crawford now perform advanced crossovers and hesitations that were once considered illegal. Iverson didn't just change how players dress or act, he reshaped how they dribble, creating a new era of creativity in basketball. Stephen Curry, the three-point revolution and rule adjustments. Stephen Curry didn't break the game, he rewired it. Before Curry, the three-point line was important but not essential. After Curry, it became the most valuable shot in basketball. His ability to hit deep threes from anywhere, 30, even 35 feet from the basket, forced defenses to guard him far beyond the arc. Teams like the Warriors started taking unprecedented numbers of threes, and the league followed. But with this revolution came new problems and new rules. Curry's movement off the ball led to more screens, more contact, and more debates about legal and illegal screens. The NBA tightened the rules around moving screens as teams would set multiple off-ball picks to free Curry. In addition, the league introduced stricter guidelines around shooting fouls on jump shots, especially after players, inspired by Curry and James Harden, started leaning into defenders to draw fouls from beyond the arc. Today, defenders must give shooters space to land, and offensive players can't unnaturally jump into defenders to get free throws. Curry didn't force a single rule change like Wilt or Shaq. He changed the entire philosophy of basketball. Because of him, the NBA now values spacing, long-range shooting, and skill over pure size. He didn't just adapt to the league adapted to him. Basketball has always been a game of evolution, but it's the players who push the limits that truly redefine it. From Wilt Chamberlain forcing the NBA to literally widen the paint, to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar creating a new shot because dunking was banned. These legends didn't just play the game, they reshaped it. Michael Jordan's footwork and dominance led to new offensive rules. Shaq's power rewrote how fouls were called, and Allen Iverson's creativity changed how ball handling was judged. And then came Stephen Curry, whose shooting completely transformed how the modern NBA is played. Each of these players left a mark so deep that their influence can still be felt in every game today. Every rule tweak, every spacing adjustment, every style evolution, it all traces back to someone who was simply too great to contain within the old rulebook. These stars didn't just change basketball, they became basketball history. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Which player changed the NBA the most? Was it Wilt Chamberlain forcing rulebooks to be rewritten? Was it Steph Curry transforming how teams play offense? Or Allen Iverson, whose crossover redefined modern basketball? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your pick. Thanks for watching. And remember, some players play the game, but only a few are powerful enough to change it forever.